Hello and welcome. I have been joined by Avinash Godbole, a strategic affairs expert on China. Avinash, thank you very much for joining us on Republic TV.
Thank you.
Avinash, we're all extremely curious. Xi Jinping has been missing for the past 2 weeks. No appearances, no mention of him, no whatsoever about him in the Chinese mainstream media. What is really happening? As someone who's been watching China for so many years, I just have this curious question. What is happening?
So China is not known for transparency on the leaders' status and whereabouts when they are away from the media, and that creates speculation. I'm not sure if he cancelled any major meetings, but he was just away from media. My primary suspicion is that he may be away on a medical treatment, which he goes for in this time of the year. I think every 3-4 years he has done that, not for so long. The last time he was this long away was in 2012. 6 months before his coming to power. And that time also there was speculation whether it is part of a kind of a campaign or a bargain. And the similarity between that 2012 and now is what is creating speculation, not only in India but everywhere about his whereabouts. But from what I hear and from what is the tendency is that even say something like a visit to a doctor, they keep it hidden, or the rest given by the doctor, rest period given by the doctor, they keep it hidden from the public glare to avoid speculation. So that's what they do.
So
Yeah.
then what is likely to happen? Is there any truth in the likely change of power within the Chinese CPC?
So change of power doesn't happen directly, but change of power happens through how agenda gets shaped. So now Chinese are bargaining for their next 5-year plan, 18th and 19th. And that is where Xi Jinping's power is curtailed, actually. In the National People's Congress this year and last year also, we saw that they have argued that they need banking reforms, they need social reforms, and those are not working. But the present fight is on the direction of the next 5-year plan. And China needs to spend more money on youth, on employment creation, and on public consumption. That is a pressure. So increasing social security net even wider. So now they have gone for primary healthcare in some several urban and semi-urban, I mean semi-urban and rural localities. There's a pressure to expand that. There's a pressure to put money in the hands of people and encourage them to spend as well to increase domestic consumption. So 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, during COVID, China came up with an idea called dual circulation. So there's a foreign circulation and internal circulation. That so dual means focusing on internal circulation. China is only one of the major economies that where consumption is less than 40%, and that is their concern. That is why they have to depend on infrastructure and exports. So they have not been able to achieve that. And that was one of Xi Jinping's flagship projects. And because it has failed, there's a pressure on him and other leaders to create more incentives for people to be able to spend. So that is where the political bargain happens in China. It's always very slow and steady, but they all like to keep it behind the curtains, away from all of us who are watching them very closely.
Will it be right to say that Xi Jinping is at his weakest at the moment?
Yeah, one can say that because everything that he has tried economically that has not worked. The He is under pressure from US for the trade negotiations and for trade deal. Uh, they're they are back to acting very aggressive with Europe. So I was recently in Brussels and hearing from them that China has tried charm offensive as well, but that has not worked. And they are supposed to hold a meeting, a strategic dialogue in Beijing later this month. And Wang Yi was in Brussels to prepare for that, but he once again ended up snubbing the Europeans for that. They are not negotiating once again on rare earth elements and strategic mineral exports to Europe. So they have gone back to a bit of wolf warrior diplomacy now because of pressure from Americans, the criticism from Europe on the Ukraine situation. And there's also a fact that a lot of other countries are entering into bilateral deals with US. And China has said that some of those will affect them as well. So there's a pressure on that economic front as well. So there's a bit of tension in Beijing. So there's a Xi Jinping's position has become slightly weaker.
Okay. And then if we really talk about his rivals, in fact, one of the rivals they're saying is the PLA chief. who in fact the last time backed him for the supreme position in the CPC. Now, there are reports that he may misuse, or he may, so to say, seize this opportunity to overturn Xi Jinping. Is that likely to happen?
No, military coups may not happen in China because military power is fairly diffused, and it is even the military authority is fairly diffused. So uh, they have control. I think one of the generals has was missing for longer than Xi Jinping, and in every summer, I'm forgetting the name, but every summer Chinese army does tree plantation drives in all of their command localities and around Beijing. So number two general, the deputy in Central Military Commission was missing. I think he may be under inspection. So party's grip on the army is not going to weaken that rapidly. Yeah.
Then political rivals. What about the other? There were five names that were doing the rounds that make replace Jinping if at all he is at its weakest, and if he really is the one who goes away.
So in the Politburo Standing Committee, seven out of five, I mean, five out of seven are Xi Jinping and his allies. Only one or two are appointed by others, Hu Chunhua and one more perhaps. But maybe even that person kind of is known for switching allegiance. So but a lot of people in the Politburo Standing Committee are advocating for a more pro-people social and economic policies, more better education loans, better urban spending, and all of that. So that is where that bargain is. And there's also speculation that the current, the Shanghai secretary might become more powerful in the years to come. But again, he has been a Xi Jinping protege so far. So in the last party congress, there was a chance for others to infuse more people in the top leadership, but they were not able to do that. And now they might be kind of, since then they might have undercut Xi Jinping's agenda, economic agenda. So even in the dual circulation policy, only about one third, only about 10 provinces were actively enthusiastic about implementing the policy. Others were telling the center that give us money to implement the plan. So the enthusiasm is very, I mean, lukewarm kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then would you want to probably stick your neck out and say that a year from now, will Xi Jinping still be there? Is there a way to predict it as someone who's deeply, been watching Chinese, the developments within China?
Let us hope. I mean, even if Xi Jinping were to move out, we might see in the next plenum, if they announce somebody as a number one vice president, and that person, if he's below, say, 65 or somebody, I mean, as the speculation goes, the Shanghai party secretary, if he comes into that position as a number one vice president and number three in the Politburo standing, I mean, in the Politburo standing committee may not change rapidly before that, but they can still announce a new vice president in the NPC and around that. That will be the sign of where is Xi Jinping going. A sign to watch will be now in the month of July they have that annual retreat. So media, what the media talks about later on, especially the Shanghai media and the central media, what they talk about party's economic agenda later on, and the meetings leading the ministerial meetings and their agendas towards the next 5-year plan, how that is shaped. So whether we see whether new social security policies are announced, and even Li Qiang, for that matter, the premier is a brilliant economist. Whether he has a more say, we will know in. I think by October we will have a better picture.
Okay. I want to understand from you, we are talking about he's skipping the BRICS summit. Now, we do not have Russia, we do not have China. I mean, the only ones that are left are the BRICS, that is. Now, if you're really talking about three countries, and then there is this entire new bloc getting created between Pakistan, China, how do you view his absence for India?
I mean, the BRICS summit in Brazil this time. So Russian president will not travel because of the international warrant against him. I don't think he also has an easy route to travel to Brazil as such, and he's going to be occupied there. I think Xi Jinping is supposed to meet Australian Prime Minister next week. They are warming up and they are supposed to discuss trade deal and certain other investment treaties. And then the EU summit is on his head. So I think they'll invest all his energy there. But also there was a news that a Brazilian First Lady, when she was in China in April, she was vehemently against TikTok, that is, it is corrupting young minds and we should control it. Whereas TikTok is one of the biggest revenue generators for China in digital world in uh, Latin America and Americas. And she also said this on multiple occasions, even in her public speech. So that may be one thing that may be stopping Xi Jinping from going. It's going to be hard for this summit because Iran is a member of BRICS now, and this is the first major summit where Iran might participate at any level after the Israel-US-Iran war, and that might have implications. So China may have the watering or reducing the level of participation may also be related to that. That BRICS resolution might be affected, will be affected because of the Israel-Iran situation. Plus, India might push for inclusion of terrorism and counterterrorism as usual. India will, I mean, there's no need to speculate on that. India will look for a stronger uh, statement on terrorism, so that might impact as well. So there are several drivers that can be reasons why Xi Jinping is not going externally as well, besides his domestic pressure. So Xi Jinping doesn't go to an event if they don't have an agreed text that where he would like to sign in advance. Same thing happened last year when the G20 happened in India. They wanted removal of reference to Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam as being a different non-UN language and all of that. So yeah, that may be one of the reasons.
Coming back to his being missing and being out of action, you're saying next week he will be probably making the first public appearance ever since he's been missing. So it's just that. Can we just keep it to some medical or health emergency or something like that, and nothing serious? Can we conclude with that?
Yeah. I mean, we would have to hope that it is that, because the collapse of Chinese political system will have a kind of multiple impacts on global politics and economics. So a stability in China is in interest of everyone as well, a political stability. But I think he made an appearance yesterday or yesterday, but he hosted some prime minister. I just saw the short clip of that, but he did not speak on camera there. Uh, the news piece mentioned that he was there, but he did not speak, and he looked okay. I mean, he did not look frail or weak, and he looked okay in the clips that they had shared. So I'm sure more events will follow where he appears, actually.
Okay. Avinash, my final question to you would be, what is Xi Jinping being there or not being there mean for India? His being there or not being there, both. What are the repercussions for India?
His being there, we are able to see that he's very ambitious, and overall under him, China has had that image as an overachiever, and having, I mean, their own sense of having achieved a power and status that is inevitable now. That has been their foreign policy. But we have also seen a very kind of insecure China under him, like powerful and insecure. So that has been a kind of a deadly combination for us on the border, given the number of incidents we had from 2013 to 2020. And that is one. But I don't think personnel change in China will make a difference to India, because their strategic calculation won't change. They don't see India for what it is. They see India from the US lens. They see US having a game in Asia to control China's natural leadership, and they still see India as part of that game. So they don't understand India's strategic autonomy, and that is a part of a problem, actually.
So you mean the
So
personal
yeah.
rapport between Prime Minister Modi and Xi Jinping does not really come into picture when China deals with New Delhi?
Yeah, no, not. I mean, the personal rapport we had hoped would work in 2014 when Prime Minister Modi went and Xi Jinping came, and we had that, what we had called that Jula diplomacy and all that stuff, but it doesn't work. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Avinash, thank you very much. We'll keep tracking this story and keep coming back to you for more insight as an expert on this. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks.